Good morning, everyone. Today we are discussing our workshop is about intrauterine growth restriction, which is a very common scenario in our day-to-day clinical practice. I will, in next few minutes, I will discuss about the how to whenever you are getting small for gestational age fetuses, then what should be the stepwise approach, and the second thing is what are the Doppler findings and how to interpret them. So, as we know, small for gestational age is when the estimated fetal weight of the fetus is less than 10th percentile. So, it's not synonymous with the intrauterine growth restriction. We have to see that it include wrong dates and constitutionally small also. So, we have to differentiate all these variety from intrauterine growth restriction. So, what we should do, we have to follow the stepwise approach. The first step is I want to rule out whether there is any gestational age discordancy. So I will assign the gestational age first by different methods. As an obstetrician, we all know regarding the menstrual history and last menstrual period, urine pregnancy test, as well as if there is any assisted reproductive technique used. So we can be ascertain or if everything is not present, then whatever is the first scan finding is there, we can actually assign the gestational age. Then the next step is we have to check the biometry. So what are the parameters? Biometry is there like head circumference, abdominal circumference, femur length, and estimated fetal weight. And which parameter is going on the lower side, we can assign with that. So now my question is, after seeing the biometry, what is your next step? Anyone can answer? What we should do next? Yeah, very right. We have to see the growth chart. So this growth chart is actually very important. Don't jump directly onto the Doppler. We have to see the growth chart, and this growth chart can give us the idea. In one picture, I can see that how was the previous scan finding, how was the growth, and in present scan, what I am getting biometry where it is, and head circumference and abdominal circumference. We can see here the first scan was done at 20 weeks and everything was looking okay. But now at 30 weeks, we can see that everything is going on the lower side, particularly the abdominal circumference and head circumference, and the estimated fetal weight is going down. So what information I can get from this? The first of all, the I can differentiate whether it is intrauterine growth restriction or small for gestational age. Second, the onset gestational age of onset, whether it is arising at which gestational age we are getting the growth discordancy. So I can differentiate from the early onset IUGR to the late onset IUGR. Similarly, I can find out the amniotic fluid index from the chart, whether the Leica is normal or not. So these are the information which I can get, and for each and every growth parameters, I can get the growth pattern. Then the next thing is Doppler. So how to see the Doppler? So normally in obstetrics, we do Doppler for maternal vessel, which is the uterine artery, and the fetal vessels. These are umbilical artery, middle cerebral artery, and ductus venosus, which is the venous Doppler. So, what is the importance for this? When we are doing the maternal vessel, which is uterine artery, it is actually gives the idea about the uteroplacental circulation. And when we are doing the Doppler for umbilical artery, it is giving us the idea about the fetoplacental circulation. And middle cerebral artery and ductus venosus actually gives us the idea in case of hypoxia, is there any fetal cardiovascular adaptation is there to how to whatever is the abnormality and at what stage is the growth restriction. So this is a uterine artery Doppler. What normal pattern is, we all know in pregnancy there is it actually turned from the high resistance to low resistance vessel. You can see here there is increased diastolic flow with advancing gestation because of the trophoblastic invasion to the spiral arteries. But in case if there is defective trophoblastic invasion, what will happen? Yes, definitely. And we can get even diastolic notch also. So it is an indicator that there is some problem with the defective trophoblastic invasion to the spiral artery. The next is umbilical artery, which is actually a surrogate marker for the placental function. And the unit is here placental tertiary villi. So normally, again, it is umbilical artery Doppler is high amplitude, low resistance vessel. So whenever this diastolic flow, which should be good in normal condition, but if there is some problem with this diastolic flow, according to severity, it will show different type of abnormal pattern. So the first one on the right side, we can see that here diastolic flow is present, but it is on the lesser amount. So it is showing high resistance flow. And the middle image is showing that there is absence of diastolic flow, and it is showing absent end diastolic flow. When will it happen? When more than 40% of placental villi becomes dysfunctional. And the last one is the severest one, where we are seeing that there is reversal of the diastolic flow. This is called as reverse end diastolic flow, and it actually manifested when more than 70% of the tertiary villi, they usually get dysfunctional. So in the later stages, according to severity, we will get different type of pattern. The next is middle cerebral artery Doppler. So it is actually a Doppler for the fetal brain vessel. So we can see here, opposite to the umbilical artery, it is actually a high resistance vessel and low amplitude. So here we can see diastolic flow is not up to that level. But what happened with fetal hypoxia? There will be changes, because whenever we are getting very less amount, what we used to do? We used to spend on the very basic things first. So similarly, if baby is getting less blood supply, there is hypoxia, then what will happen? Baby will divert the flow towards the brain, heart, adrenals, which is actually very important. So what will happen? There will be increase in the diastolic flow instead of decrease diastolic flow. So this is called as cerebral adaptation to the hypoxia, and it is also known as brain sparing effect. So this is actually redistribution to cope up the danger. So the next Doppler is ductus venosus Doppler. It usually gets deranged in the later stages or severe stages of intrauterine growth restriction. So normally DV Doppler is continuous forward flow throughout the cardiac cycle, and there is S, D, and A wave. So this one is A wave, and we can see in the severe stages there is A wave reversal is there, or either A wave can be absent. So according to the stage of the IUGR, according to the severity, we can see these type of changes. And what is the importance to see them, I will discuss later in the management part. So Doppler changes in the IUGR, actually particularly for early onset IUGR, they usually follow a sequential pattern unless it is complicated by the preeclampsia. So normally we should actually aware about that Doppler changes actually becomes abnormal prior to the NST or biophysical profile changes. So biophysical profile is not superior to the Doppler. So this is the reason why Doppler assessment is very important, first in diagnosis, second in monitoring, and third in decision making regarding the delivery. Among the Doppler, arterial Doppler like umbilical artery and uterine artery and the middle cerebral artery, they show changes prior to the venous Doppler like ductus venosus and umbilical vein pulsation. And venous Doppler, again, they usually manifest changes or abnormality prior to the fetal heart rate tracing changes. So this is a sequence why Doppler is very important to see or to monitor the IUGR babies. And these patterns actually maintain in the early onset IUGR. So now a little bit about the intrauterine growth restriction. So we know that it is pathological restriction to the growth of the fetus, and according to the gestational age time of onset, we can divide them into early onset and late onset. Before 32 to 34, according to ISWAG, before 32 week, if we are getting onset of growth restriction, it is called as early onset, and the late onset is after 32 weeks. So among these two, early onset is less common. More common is late onset. Early onset is easy to diagnose but difficult to manage. Late onset is difficult to diagnose but easy to manage. So there is Delphi consensus for early onset IUGR. So one solitary criteria, there are 3 solitary criteria, means if they are abnormal, they don't need anyone else, like Indian Air Force. So the criteria are abdominal circumference or estimated fetal weight if it is less than 3rd centile, or absent end diastolic flow in the umbilical artery. And the contributory criteria are where they need support from other parameters also, These are when estimated fetal weight and abdominal circumference is less than 10th percentile, along with the Doppler changes in the umbilical or uterine artery more than 95th percentile. So etiology, if we'll talk about the early onset, it has varied etiology. There are maternal causes, fetal causes, placental, and multifactorial. So maternal causes, we all know as an obstetrician, chronic maternal illnesses like hypertension, diabetes with vasculitis, chronic renal diseases, connective tissue disorder, they are commonly associated with the growth restriction. In fetal causes, they can be chromosomal genetic infection like rubella, or torch like toxoplasma CMV infection, and placental causes are quite common. But whenever I will get a very early onset, like in anomaly scan, if I'm doing and I'm seeing that there is a growth lag, what I will do, I will see the fetus as a whole to rule out any structural abnormality, any phenotypic spectrum for any syndromic disease, and I want to rule out the chromosomal or genetic association by doing invasive procedure, as well as amniotic fluid PCR also I can do to rule out the infectious pathology. When I was ruling out all these things, after that, the next step is to monitor. Because now I have ruled out all the other causes and my focus is on the placental causes. So, pathophysiology of early onset is, as I have already told you, because of the defective trophoblastic invasion of the spiral artery. It happens in two stages. The first stage is trophoblastic invasion to the decidual layer of the spiral artery, and the second stage is when the trophoblastic invasion happen to the myometrial segment of the spiral artery. If it will not happen correctly, what will happen? The caliber of the spiral artery will not increase much and there will be less blood supply goes to the fetus. So this pathophysiology actually happen in PIH also. This is the reason why early onset IUGR is very commonly associated with PIH, which is not true for the late onset. So now, according to Greta-Cos, we can divide the IUGR into 4 stages. Stage 1 is whenever I am getting estimated fetal weight less than 3rd centile, and my middle cerebral artery shows vasodilatation, and uterine and the umbilical artery shows high resistance flow. So what will be the monitoring? Now I know, and the CPR is less than 5th centile. Dr. Rachna will tell about this CPR. So what will happen? My follow-up will be increased. I will do weekly Doppler, and if it remain in the same stage, I can plan for delivery at 37 weeks, and it's not necessary by cesarean. We can do the labor induction in these cases. The next stage is the IUGR. Second stage is actually severe placental insufficiency, and what we can see, as we already seen in previous picture, the umbilical artery severity will get increased, and what we are seeing here, absent end diastolic flow, and this is the aortic isthmus vessel where we are getting the reverse diastolic flow. So now what I should do? So we have to follow up. We have to increase our follow up. We will increase the follow up bi-weekly, and we can plan the delivery. If it remain in this same stage, we can plan for delivery at 34 weeks, and mode of delivery will be cesarean. We cannot allow for the induction of labor. The next stage is stage 3 IUGR. Again, severity of umbilical artery increased, and we are getting reversal of the diastolic flow. Along with that, we are getting the either this or ductus venosus is showing high resistance flow. So we know that arterial Doppler shows abnormality prior to the venous Doppler. So now it is extreme, like severe most form of the umbilical artery, or if I am getting high resistance in the ductus venosus. So again, my surveillance will get increased, and I will do follow up in 1 to 2 or 24 to 48 hours, and I will plan for delivery at 30 weeks. Minimum 30 weeks should be crossed. I cannot take the decision before 30 weeks in case if I am getting normal DV. So delivery mode of delivery will be cesarean. So it doesn't mean that at 30 weeks I should deliver. I have to look for ductus venosus flow also. If ductus venosus flow is good, then in that case I can increase the follow-up. I can extend the follow-up. But whenever I will get ductus venosus flow abnormality, then I can take the decision regarding the delivery. The next stage is stage 4, which is actually highly suspicious for fetal acidosis. And here we can see there is reversal of the A wave in the ductus venosus. So, along with that, we have already discussed that venous Doppler actually changes prior to the fetal heart rate deceleration. But when we will wait till this long? No, but the reason is if my gestational age is very less. Okay, so I have to wait till this stage when my fetus is not reached up to the period of viability. So after reaching the period of viability, I can take the decision over this. But if I have already reached to the period of viability, I will not wait till this long. So the thing is, at 26 weeks is arbitrary. We have to see where we are practicing. If my scenario is low setup and I have not the facility, good NICU facility, so what I will do? If I will deliver also, I am just imposing a early neonatal death instead of IUD. So we have to see all these things and we have to individualize the treatment accordingly. So decision-making point in management of IUGR is first of all in extreme prematurity. Gestational age is the one most important criteria. And it will depend upon the NICU facility also. If gestation crossed our viability limit, then monitoring is always with the umbilical artery Doppler, whether it is high resistance, absent or reversal. Decision for delivery, especially in preterm fetuses, is actually dictated by the ductus venosus Doppler, and there is no role of middle cerebral artery redistribution in making the decision for delivery, particularly in the early onset IUGR. And we should actually know that in early onset IUGR, they usually follow the pattern sequence, but it is not true if early onset IUGR is actually complicated by the PIH. So just a quick review in the end. I just want you to participate in identification of the pattern. So anyone can answer. So what you are seeing with this growth chart, can we identify what it could be? So we are seeing all the growth parameters are on the lower side, but they are maintaining from first scan to the last. But we cannot see that by seeing this. We have to, what we should see again with this Dopplers. So, yeah. So AFI, so what should we see along with this? We have to see the amount of Leica as well as the Doppler status. So umbilical artery, everything, every Doppler is fine. So the diagnosis is?
Since the amniotic fluid is normal, the Dopplers, they have to be normal. Otherwise, if the umbilical artery resistance would have been high, the AFI would have gone down.
Yeah, definitely. Why should be oligohydramnias will be there in cases of IUGR? Because of the decrease in the renal perfusion, because of the redistribution of the blood towards the vital organs. The next is again very easy for you. So we are seeing that initial scan, everything is looking fine, but later at 30 weeks, 28 weeks, I am seeing that head circumference, abdominal circumference and femur length, everything is going down, and estimated fetal weight is also on the lower side. And what about amniotic fluid? On the lower side. So I am expecting Doppler will be abnormal. So look, abnormal Doppler is there. So my diagnosis will be, because I am seeing it at 28 weeks and my Dopplers are also abnormal. So diagnosis will be early onset IUGR. So difference is there. Small for gestational age is actually they are carrying very good outcome, while early onset IUGR or IUGR per se, they can associated with the various complications. So it is very, very important to differentiate between these two conditions. Thank you. Yeah.